Welcome back to another Yohamon car review. Today we're in the 2009 Nissan GTR Black Edition. It's a car that is nearly 11 years old. On the last video, a subscriber commented and said that I should review the BMW X5. And in many ways this car is fairly similar to the BMW X5. It has a 6-cylinder engine, it has turbos, it has 4 seats, and it even has 4-wheel drive. So we're going to structure the video in the same way as the last one. We're going to do the exterior first, the interior, then we're going to discuss some of the features and the infotainment system, and then lastly we'll do the drive.
The Nissan GTR is a very muscular looking car. It sort of has flared wheel arches, it has a lot of sculpture to it. It's not the most exciting, but it does look fairly good even 10 years on. The nice thing about the GTR is that Nissan have kept the shape of the GTR over the years fairly similar. So even though you've had a lot of iterations of the GTR, the overall shape and lines of the car have stayed fairly similar. So if you look at it, if you look at the new GTR coming out in 2020, it looks fairly similar to this, and you'd sort of just think it's maybe just a facelift even. Ground clearance is not the best, which is why it scrapes as well, and it also does not have front lift, which is also a bit of an issue, but you do have some nice sculpture here on the side. You'd expect the air vents on the Nissan GTR to actually be real based on the fact that it is a thoroughbred sports car, but if you come around here you'll see that this actually goes somewhere, that on this side this is completely fake and just a design plug, but still they look fairly good and you won't really notice that they are fake at all unless someone like myself points them out to you. The wheels of the Black Edition GTR are powder coated in black, which is very nice and gives it that sporty look. You also have orange Brembo brake calipers to just give it a little bit more excitement, and a nice touch is the little blue cap. The side of the car is characterized by this C-line here, and they've kind of tried to hide the fact that you have these pillars here by coating these in black. When we come down to the door handle is also this push-in door handle, which makes it look really nice on the side because it's nice and smooth, gives it a really flush look. But they're also not that practical really, because they don't pop out when you walk towards the car or unlock the car. But overall they're not too bad. You also have keyless go, you can lock the car like that, and you have a nice little real vent this time on the side here with a bit of GTR badging. The rear of the GTR is characterized by this large fixed wing, which is really nice. It doesn't move at all, so it's not dynamic. You also have the 4 rear lights and some really large exhaust pipes. There's not much of a diffuser on the bottom of this car really, and you just have some air vents at the back. If we take a step into the Nissan GTR, the interior here is finished with black leather and red leather inserts. The inserts are also perforated due to the fact that the car does have heated seats. It's also a nice mix between leather and some Alcantara. The Alcantara really gives it that sportier sort of feel. The doors are also finished in leather, and you have a nice metal insert with a red leather grab handle to close the door. You also get Bose stereo, which is actually a custom system in the Nissan GTR. And then if you come into the driver panels, these are all metal, and you actually have some really nice plush carpets compared to what you get in other cars. One thing that you will notice with the GTR is that a lot of the buttons are actually covered or actually taken out from other Nissan variants. So in fact, if you go into a Nissan showroom at the moment, you'll actually see that some of the same buttons are used 11 years on in their cars today. But overall, I think the Nissan GTR interior is a really nice place. Clear into the back of the Nissan GTR, it is a manual latch to move the front seat, and then you have 2 more seats at the back. Now this is a 2+2, but I'd say this 2+2 is actually better than what you get in most other cars. You do have a cup holder here in the back, and it's split nicely by this Bose 2-system sort of boombox in the middle. The seats are also fairly wide. I'd say if you're anything over 170 you might struggle, but if you're under 170 there's going to be enough space for you here in the back. The car does have electric seats, so you have forward and back. You can also tilt the headrest, and then you can also adjust the actual height of the seat. So in the middle here you have all your buttons. There are a lot of buttons, which makes it slightly confusing. It's definitely not the easiest system in the world to use, Below you have all your settings for the car to make the car either a bit racier or a bit more comfortable. You can also turn off your traction control, although that is definitely not recommended, and you have your hazard button. Coming down, you have your CD changer as well as your gear lever. As you can see, the gear lever is sort of peeling a little bit, which is not that good. Coming down, we have a nice red stop-start button, and then we have two cup holders and a armrest back here, which has a 12-volt plug as well. You can also adjust the passenger seat from here to make it easier to get in and out of for the back passenger. And then we also have another 12-volt plug up here. The infotainment system on the Nissan GTR was designed in conjunction with Gran Turismo, the racing video game. So the entire infotainment system has a very racy feel, has a very gamey feel to it. You have your radio here, which you can adjust through this. The screen is also actually touchscreen, which makes it a little bit easier to use. You have your disc. The car does have 30 gigabyte hard drive, which is really nice. And you also have some info. You're not really going to worry too much about your fuel economy, but not many cars have a fuel tire pressure sensor, which is actually really useful on this car. You also have some settings, and you can connect your phone to the car via Bluetooth. There's obviously no CarPlay on an 11-year-old car, but I'm sure you can actually get that retrofitted. One of the coolest parts about the Nissan GTR is the fact that you get all these driver and car stats. So you can see your gear position, you can see your fuel economy, your stopwatch if you're on the track. You can also get a custom view where you can put all sorts of different car metrics up on here, which is really nice and just something that you don't really see, or I haven't really seen on any other car before. The Nissan GTR has a multi-function steering wheel, so you can adjust quite a few things here. You can adjust your volume, you can adjust the track, you can answer your calls, you can also adjust your cruise control. At the back you have your gear shifters as well. Now the gear shifters are actually quite big, which is really nice, and they're also fixed, so as you turn the car steering wheel, your gear pads are always going to be in the same place. They also have a little bit of leather on the back to give them a nice grippy feeling. On the right hand side you have all your wiper controls, and on the left hand side you have your light controls. Something that's probably never ever been shown on the Nissan GTR review is that underneath the passenger side you actually have all your equipment to remove a tire. The Nissan GTR boot is actually a fairly good size. You can definitely fit enough bags in here for a weekend trip, which actually makes it quite a practical car to use.
So then, most importantly, when it comes to the drive of the Nissan GTR, this is a sports car and you expect it to feel very sporty, which it does. But the really nice thing about the GTR is that it's also not too bad around town. The car doesn't have run flat tires, it has normal tires, and actually around town, on some of the more bumpier roads, it's actually not too bad. The suspension also has a setting to make it even harder, and you can adjust everything to basically go into full race mode, where the car becomes even stiffer and even more racy. The car does 0 to 100 also in 3.5 seconds. Some people have said that they've recorded up to 3.2 seconds, which may not seem fast for today's standards, but back in the day, that was very rapid. These days, most M cars, most AMGs are doing it under 4, sub 4, so that's not really that impressive today, but back in the day, this was really fast. The car does have a top speed in excess of 320 kilometers per hour as well. It has 473 horsepower. Again, that doesn't sound like a lot today, but in 2009 that was a lot. And this car also has 588 Newton meters of torque. All the car power is fed to the ground through a 4-wheel drive system. So that 4-wheel drive system is really great because it does give you a lot of assurance and a lot of safety. You can almost floor the car in most situations that you're not going to feel like you're going to lose it really. You can also go into corners quite well, and you have plenty of grip. The other benefit of having that 4-wheel drive system is that it's a lot safer to drive, and in the wet especially, it's going to help you out quite a lot. The steering on the GTR is very nice and direct, and you feel sort of every little bump, every little crevice in the road, and it's got that really nice direct feeling. The steering wheel itself is a nice, small, sporty feeling steering wheel, and you can also adjust it so that it fits, so that it's just at the right height for you. Highway cruising, the car isn't that loud, to be honest with you, and the exhaust tone is there. There's obviously a little bit of road noise, so you just have to turn up the sound to sort of drown out that on a long distance cruise. However, on the highway, obviously, it does have enough power to overtake, even in 60 gear. If you throw it, you're doing it quite a decent pull. And you can sort of cruise at high speeds relatively well. The car was designed to have a lot of stability at high speeds, of course, which makes it really good on the highway. The Nissan GTR is also a very easy car to drive. The visibility of the car is quite incredible. It's almost like a normal car. You have good visibility on the front, back and sides, which is very nice. The car, you also don't sit that low into it like you do in most other supercars. You sort of sit at the level that you'd sit in a normal car, which does make it easier. It's not as intimidating to drive as some of the other supercars in the market. Anyway, now that you've heard the way the Nissan GTR sounds, you can tell me whether the complaints about the car that it sounds a bit subdued is justified. Sure, it's not as loud as a Lamborghini or Ferrari or anything of Italy really, but it does give a very different sound to those cars. It's not a naturally aspirated V10, and then it's a V6 twin turbo, which doesn't mean it doesn't sound great. To me, the GTR has a very different soundtrack to those cars. It's more of a race car sound. Inside, it doesn't really feel, it's obviously not as loud, but it's still a very visceral experience nonetheless. You also hear at lower speeds a lot more of the mechanical sounds. You hear the gearbox, you hear all of the components moving. It's a lot more, it's a very in-tuned sort of drive with this car. In terms of reliability, this car has 11-year lifespan, has only had to have an ABS pump changed and a tire pressure monitor system on one of the wheels changed. So nothing major, nothing critical. So you can sort of go to sleep at night, rest assured, knowing that you're not going to have any major component failures that's going to cost you a lot of money. In conclusion, then, if you're looking to buy a 2009 Nissan GTR, I really don't think you can go wrong with this car. The car is fairly reliable. It's built by Nissan. You're not going to really have too much worries about it. However, if you do need to service it, the one thing that you do need to consider is that you can't get this car serviced at every single dealership. Only certain dealerships have a qualified Nissan GTR technician. So, for example, here in South Africa, if you own the car in Durban and you need to get your car serviced by an official GTR repair center, you need to actually send your car all the way up to Joburg to get it serviced, which is a bit of a pain. But if your car is out of warranty and you don't mind sending it to any random technician, because there are lots of people who customize these cars, who work with these cars, who can service it for you, you will save yourself a lot of hassle and a lot of time. It's also not that much of a worry when your car is out of service or off warranty, because you're not going to avoid your warranty at all. For an 11-year-old car, it still looks good, it still drives good, it's going to be fairly reliable, and I don't think you can really go wrong with it. Anyway, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please do like and subscribe and comment if you have any questions or queries on the GTR. I'll try my best to answer them. And yeah, see you next time.